Sensory sensitivity. What is it? Hi guys, welcome to this week's video. Today I want to talk about sensory sensitivity, what it is, what it's connected with, and what it feels like. Because I know that there are some of you out there who don't really know a whole lot about it, and you're here because you want to learn about mental health related issues. So let's get into it, right? So a common feature of autism, which is my academic background, and I have family members with autism. I said with autism. I hate person first language. I have family members who are autistic. Still learning this habit. Anyway, so sensory sensitivity is a big part of autism, and it's also something that other people can have difficulties with. It's something the way I like to think about sensory sensitivity is that the volume on your senses in your head is turned up. So your experience of sensory information is a lot higher, a lot more intense than other people, and so that can have consequences. Imagine if to you everything was 50% louder than it is to everybody else. That means that you're gonna find it harder to avoid distraction, because that car beeping in the street outside because somebody bumped into it and the alarm is going off, it sounds like it's right next to your ear. It sounds like it's here rather than outside, and that disgusting smell that somebody left in the bathroom, that's not just an unpleasant smell that makes you go ooh. It might make you actually physically want to be sick. It's it can be a lot more intense, basically, and so that can cause lots of different reactions. There are some people who they've described it as being painful, stressful, distracting, nauseating. It can make them just generally uncomfortable and unable to focus, and it's something that's always there. And I think that it kind of just depends on the type of the sense. There are some that are contact only senses, and there are some that are ambient senses. So touch, right? Maybe you've got a person who the feeling on their skin is what they're most sensitive to, and so they really need to wear comfortable clothing at all times, because the slightest irritation, the slightest roughness, the slightest prickliness could be really, really aggravating, right? And so that one's not necessarily going to be as big of an issue if the individual has complete control over what they touch and what's on their body, which is a lot easier because you just choose what you want to wear. You go shopping and you only buy fabrics that feel okay to you, and then when you get dressed in the morning you select your clothes. Okay, so maybe you might end up having to choose things that look a little bit weird to other people, a weird combination of clothes, but you're comfortable, and so your sensory needs have been met. You're comfortable, you're not irritated, you're not stressed out, you're not getting grumpy and snappy with people because you've got this annoying sensation that nobody else is aware of, that you're having to try to ignore, And that one could be easier to manage because you actually do have control over what you experience. And the same with taste. You might have to be a picky eater. You might have to keep your mouth shut when there's a strong smell because you don't want that taste getting into your mouth. But it's a contact thing. You can choose not to lick that lollipop. You can choose not to kiss somebody with bad breath. You can choose not to eat that food that has the texture that makes you want to spit it back out. But with sound, with noise, with sight especially, because we completely depend on that as a society for the most part. I know there are folks out there who are partially sighted or blind completely, and they find ways around it, but for most of us, we are dependent on sight. And so if you've got a difficulty with one of these ambient senses, you can't just choose to turn that off the way you can with touch. You can't turn touch off, but you can choose not to touch that pen that feels funny, or use a glass that doesn't have that horrible frosty texture, which I personally hate so much. And just cringe, you know. Or like, there are some people who really don't like polystyrene. You can just choose not to touch it, choose not to be in the room. But you can't do that with noises. You know, right now you might be able to hear outside there is a really noisy bus, and they have been doing construction work outside, and there's a guy over the road who sells stuff, and he shouts periodically. You might be able to hear all of that on this recording. I can't turn that off. I can't turn that off. I can't stop myself from hearing it. The only way I could stop myself from hearing it would be to put in earplugs or noise cancelling headphones or something that blocks the sound coming in, but that might be a problem in my life. You know, maybe I depend on being able to hear. You know, maybe my job might require me to be able to talk to people. You know, I can't wear noise cancelling headphones if I work in customer service and I have to be able to like take phone calls and interact with people verbally, you know. Or like smell. If you work in a bakery or you live near a bakery, that smell's always going to be around. Maybe not always, but you know, you can't stop that coming in, and it's not really considered socially appropriate to wear a peg on your nose or to like put like plugs in your nose. You know, people don't consider that normal or okay. So yeah, like sensory stuff can be really, really challenging because you don't always have a lot of control over it. You don't always have a lot of control over the situation. You know, if it happens when you're at a doctor's appointment, or you're in school, or you're in work, you know, a lot of the time you just have to muddle through, and that can contribute to a short temper, that can contribute to headaches or other physical reactions. It can contribute to shutdowns and meltdowns. It can contribute to a lot of difficulties. So there are some ways that people handle it, but we don't have time for that in this video. I hope this was useful to you. If you have any more questions about sensory sensitivity, I think I answered probably the majority of them, but you can put any more in the comments if I've missed anything. Yeah, thank you for watching this video. Bye.